Just a couple of points quickly. Why it's not very clear on our site, because partly we're doing a lot of research into this issue. We've set up a legal team. The Lawyers Secular Society and the National Secular Society have been very key in this. And our legal coordinator, Yassi Molazadeh, she's put together a team of 8 lawyers. Legal researchers. We've got now a free helpline that's going to be actually officially launched today, that's going to be available to people. And we're doing research and trying to interview people who've been to Sharia Council. So I think and we've only started 3 months, so as our campaign progresses, I think you'll find more information on our website. Just a couple of things. You know, obviously people have a right to go to their religious leaders. I already said that. I don't want to repeat my point. I think the point I was trying to make was there's a distinction. I think, who raised it? You did. There's a distinction between, you know, going to your priest or going to church to get married to going to a Sharia court or an ecclesiastic court. On what's the government's intentions? I think the problem is that the British government and basically Western governments and the US, they don't care much about political Islam in general. They don't really have a problem with political Islam in general. You know, they have very good relations with the Saudi government, with the Islamic regime in Iran. Also, you know, they talk about the nuclear crisis, but you never hear about human rights or the situation of women. That's why they have this catch-term extremists, which mean we only have a problem with those who commit terrorism. You know, in Madrid or in London or New York. And what about the terrorism, that's the state terrorism that's committed against millions of people in Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan on a daily basis for many decades before September 11th. And I think that's why what we say is that it's not just extremists, it is the political Islamic movement, and they are very linked to each other. And I think that's why it's important to put pressure on the British government to say that, you know, for us, it's all unacceptable. Regarding, thanks. Good try, didn't work. Regarding, you know, the Quran, I have a really big problem with this argument. Well, you know, Geert Wilders, interestingly, can't stand the man, and Reza Moradi actually did a film called Fitna Remade, because he basically blames Muslims and immigrants for the political Islamic movement. Excuse me, many Muslims, or those labeled as Muslims, are at the forefront of opposing the political Islamic movement, and they've been the first victims of this movement. You know, and a lot of the asylum seekers he shows going up, you know, oh, they've invaded Netherlands, are actually people who fled movements that the Dutch government, as well as many Western governments, have supported. But, you know, it's interesting how he's talking about his freedom of expression, and then he comes out with banning the Quran. Sounds, you know, you're for freedom of expression. Well, that means expression that we don't like. And in the same way that Geert Wilders has a right to his expression, even though, you know, I despise his opinions, and I will challenge his opinions, you know, it's ridiculous to demand the banning of the Quran. Let's ban the Bible, because you can find just as much misogyny and homophobia in it. How about the Torah next? You know, where does it end? And I think this is the problem. The right wing has made this an ideological battle, and a battle against Islam and the Quran, as a way of actually trying to attack immigrants and those who are deemed or labeled Muslims in Europe. This is a political battle. This is a political battle. And I think until we recognize that, we aren't going to be able to win. So yes, we need to criticize Islam. We need to criticize Christianity. We need to criticize religion. And in fact, freedom of expression is most important when it comes to criticizing that which is sacred, that which is taboo. But don't be mistaken to think that if you ban the Quran, you're going to win. You're not. You're going to win by banning Sharia councils, by banning Muslim arbitration tribunals, by defending people's rights, by opposing the political Islamic movement, not militarily, because we've seen, you know, the wonderful liberations in Iraq and Afghanistan have actually helped promote and encourage political Islam. And finally, I would like to just say what you can do. There's a lot that can be done apart from signing the petition. Join us. You know, we need volunteers. We need money, lots of money. We need everything you see that's been done has been done with the hard work of a lot of volunteers. We need lawyers. We need legal researchers. We need people to staff our helplines. We're going to need to do that 24 hours. We won't be able to do it on our own. We need you to go to your local communities and set up public meetings, put up flyers, join our Facebook page, get the word out. And I think there's so much that can be done. People can do it in whatever way that they're comfortable with. But we're only going to win if we do that and do it quickly and fast and build that movement that we need to do to get rid of this huge inequality, in not just in this society, but across the globe.
Do you have any?
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I just say something? I have to put in a plug for the next thing we want to do. November 20th is International Children's Day. And what better to expose Sharia and religious-based tribunals and their effects on children. So let's work together to create a mass demonstration on November 20th. Again in Trafalgar Square. Shall we say thousands, 10,000? We need to work, and we need a lot of work to do so we can do that. So keep November 20th in mind.
Right, I'm going to try and answer Julie's question at the front and the gentleman at the back all in one go. The question was, just in case any of you have forgotten, because it was a while ago, was it a good idea that UK courts should actually be examining the decisions of Muslim arbitration tribunals or Sharia councils? I do agree with the point that Pragma made on this issue, which is that you can't limit the advice seeking from Sharia councils. If somebody wants to go to a person, a religious leader in their community, and ask for advice or direction, there is nothing that the law can do to stop that. And that's a very important point to note. But moving on, if it is the case that bodies of religious communities of whatever description are seeking to impose decisions according to religious law on people, then, and those decisions are whether or not they're seen to be decisions made by consent, i.e. after mediation, or whether they're judgments delivered by tribunals, the way that the UK courts deal with these does actually open them up to scrutiny, because you can't enforce any kind of decision in family law, and it is family law that we're dealing with here, unless you issue a case in the county court or the high court, and you go along and you put your mediation agreement or your arbitration agreement in front of the judge and you say, this is what we've agreed. Now, what the judge will do is he will apply UK family law principles to that agreement, and he will say, are the parties consenting to this freely of their own will? And he will also say, are the parties coming to the table with equal bargaining power? And the decisions from the courts so far, and there haven't been that many of them, on religious issues, show that the courts do actually look at each case on its facts. And that's where Sharia law differs from UK law. UK law is an individualistic system. It applies the law to each individual as they come to the court. Each case turns on its facts, whereas Sharia law has been held by the House of Lords recently to be arbitrary and discriminatory, simply because it applies laws and rules in a fixed way without taking the individual circumstances, the needs of the particular parties into account. So it's very important to realise that if these decisions do get in front of the UK courts, they will be open to scrutiny. It's not known whether or not there could be examples of, for example, women concealing the fact that they've been pressurised into the agreement. But so far, looking at the decisions that have come up, that doesn't appear to be an issue. What is important is that we focus on showing women on the ground that they have these legal rights. And if we can get women informed of what their civil law, family law decisions are, then they won't be put in a position where they're forced to give up their family law rights in exchange for a religious divorce, or they're forced to pay money to their husband for a religious divorce, or that the custody of their child is taken away from them arbitrarily. But that's an information campaign rather than a legal campaign. So we have to be very careful about what we can actually do and what we can't do legally.